what is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at movies outside of the A24 library, literally 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are hopping in the bathtub and heading for a brighter future as we talk about Brad Bird's 2015 film, Tomorrowland.
Bound by a shared destiny, a teen bursting with scientific curiosity and a former boy genius inventor embark on a mission to unearth the secrets of a place somewhere in time and space that exists in their collective memory. That's pretty confusing. I'm going to be honest with you. Our
That's a long log line. That is so long.
So long.
That's never a good sign.
This is our second movie and our expedition into movies based on Disney theme park rides. Who would have thought that there would be so many? And if you look at the Wikipedia page of Disney theme park live action movies, there's like 8 in the pipeline, which I don't know if that... I just don't know how to feel about that. I don't know what that says about where we are as a society, but we're here. We're doing this. Ben, before we talk about Tomorrowland, we have a punishment to pay for, brother. We have to do this because... I did it to us. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, I couldn't not take the punishment. I couldn't not only talk about that movie for 24 minutes. So let's get this thing going.
Let's do it. All right, let's
the best part of the Patreon right here. This is why people tune in for the hot sauce. This is why they're here.
Okay, all right. We got our hot sauces. Okay.
So last time we had a punishment, we did get number 10. So unless we get 10 again, we're kind of taking a down step.
Yeah, we've had a 5 and a 10. So let's see what we get here.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. Here we go.
I'm already sweating.
No, are you serious? Again?
No.
Again? Oh, my God.
You rigged it. You did this, Ben. This is on you.
You've got to be kidding me.
Well, look, I will say the good thing about getting 10, it's already open. I don't have to crack off a label. I'm already good to go. And
whoever is listening, I apologize for my hiccups for the next 20 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. I feel really bad for you.
Oof,
like, I think I'll be okay, but gosh, I'm sorry.
How is that possible? 2 out of 3 times we get a 10?
What did you do? What did you do that we deserve?
Did I not clear my cookies or whatever I needed to do?
It's like, let's just get 10 every single time.
Yeah, we're just going to do 10.
Wow, even the smell. So I'm running on an empty stomach right now. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. So I'm very curious how this is going to play. Nothing in the old tummy.
No.
We'll see.
All right.
You got a little spoonful?
The sauces, yeah.
Okay. Oh, my gosh. Okay. I also have a little spoonful. Not sure if I can show you without tipping it, but it's there. Okay. Bottoms up. Welcome to the Patreon. This is the worst thing in the world.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, my God. I forgot how much that burns going down your throat, and I am sweating profusely. Oh, my God. Okay. Wow. I'm doing this in my shed, and for those of you that don't know, I record in a shed. It's hot. It's the middle of the summer. I already sweat in the shed. And then I take a ghost pepper hot sauce, and it just is going to make things exponentially worse. So here we go.
There we go.
As you might have guessed, we're on a 24-minute clock. We get a punishment if we go over. This was our payment, our penance for last time. So we're talking about 24 minutes of Tomorrowland this time. This is directed by Brad Bird. In 2015, I'm salivating so profusely right now, it's very hard to speak.
My hiccups are back.
You got them back?
I hate it. Ugh.
Ooh, the hiccups, they come to play. Okay. Brad Bird, coming off of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which is astounding. This movie is starring George Clooney, Britt Robertson, Hugh Laurie, and Raffi Cassidy. It is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. I have a lot of things that I want to say about this movie, but I know you had one particular point you wanted to bring up with Brad Bird. Let's kick it off with that, Ben. Set the stage.
Crazy. My man turned down Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, directing that to do this movie. He said it's because he wanted to do an original sci-fi movie that those don't come across, too often, which his point is valid. Mm-hmm. And, for all this shit JJ gets, I do think Force Awakens was a decent re-entry into Star Wars. The pressure behind that is huge. And I think he did a good job. Kylo Ren was great. I have no idea what, maybe he would have done a good job. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, We established that over the last 7 episodes. It's my favorite,
Did we?
you know? Like, I love that one. And so maybe if he takes like existing characters and builds on it, maybe that's what he needs is not original stuff. Maybe he needs stuff that's already been established that he can just like expand upon, because I think maybe the Star Wars would have been good. I'm happy with Force Awakens. I'm very happy with Last Jedi, you know, but just kind of crazy to turn down Star Wars just to like do this. Like, I don't know what he thought this could have been that would have equaled that, but I guess he just wanted to tell an original story.
Yeah, I mean, more power to him, I guess. Telling an original story is very important, especially in today's like landscape with movies. Even so in 2015, really important. I mean, Brad Bird is like the Disney guy, so I mean, Star Wars would have kept him at his home base. It would have like kept him in the family kind of a thing. So that's tough. It is hard to see someone go and do Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol and then come down to Tomorrowland. A movie for me that is like on the precipice of working like 11 times, and then it just doesn't get there. It just doesn't cross the line. The pace slows. We get a weird thing here or there. Like, it just doesn't quite work for me. I'm really curious to hear what you think of it. The thing that I did want to say, 2 points. George Clooney is on the poster. He's billed in this movie as like the top billed actor. He's a big part of why I remember watching this movie. I was like, oh, Clooney, that's crazy. Holy cow. My guy doesn't show up for a fucking hour in a 2 hour and 10-minute movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like I got ripped off a little bit. Also, much in the family of Pirates of the Caribbean that was like 2 hours and 20-something minutes long. Like, why the fuck are we making such long movies about theme park rides? Like, stop it. Just please, just stop. Like, this movie would have been electrifying. It would have been elite if it was 100 minutes. I think you trim a lot of this fat and you get some really fun, cool stuff that keeps the pace really fast and futuristic. And I just don't get it. I just don't know if I ever will. And look, it's not being solved right now anyway. Oppenheimer, 3 hours. You've got Dead Reckoning, that's almost 3 hours. Like, everything is long, and it's just how it is, I guess, forever.
Yeah, no, it's true. I noticed it watching it this time as well. Ooh, gotta catch my breath here. Like, the first real action segment that we get is like 1 hour and 20 minutes into the movie. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's what feels like takes us to the second act. It's like, man, that's a long first act, you know, like I know structurally it wasn't that, but it kind of felt like that because that's when we meet Clooney. That's when we kind of like take off and go to Tomorrowland. But I was like, man, they could have easily trimmed a half hour, I think, off the front of this, you know, all the backstory and stuff. And it could be 100 minutes and that'd be just like spot on. So I think Clooney does like a decent job, but yeah, this is not that it's like the end all be all, but Rotten Tomatoes, do you know what the score is on this?
I do not. I have not looked it up. I remember seeing this movie when it came out in the theater, and I was like, that was really fun. And obviously I didn't watch movies back then. So like, that's part of the reason I wanted to pivot this to be like Disney movies, because I was like, I can revisit Tomorrowland. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to be let down.
Well, I think it just goes to your point really well where you said like it's just right on the edge of being a good movie. Yeah. Because this is literally in the middle. It's 50%. That's what it is on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's like
that's a critic score?
That makes sense. That's the critic score. Okay. Like, I get it because this is like a 50% good movie. Like it totally, you know what I mean? Like it could be really it could have been fun. It could have, you know, maybe kicked off some more kind of franchise like Disney stuff. I mean, they're doing it anyway, you know, but maybe this could have been more successful. But it's not like there's nothing technically bad about it. Like, it's really all those transitions that we get whenever she touches the pin. Like, again, as someone who does video production for a living, like I was just like dialed in. I was like, how are they doing this? Because there is obviously probably some green screen, but some of this is very practical. You know, it's like, how are they pulling this off? Because it looks so good. Like they're matching these up perfectly. So
and that's what I'm saying. Like, there were moments like that where I was just like, this is so cool. And then there were other moments that were just like, why did we stop being cool? Like, why did we stop doing this for a moment? Do you know what the audience score is on Rotten Tomatoes?
No, I didn't even look at it, but
I'm very, very
pull
curious.
It up. Yeah.
How does this compare to Pirates for you? I know we have 14 minutes left, so we're gonna start getting into our three scenes. But Pirates, Tomorrowland, because I had a really big internal debate about this, and I'm still unsure, to be honest with you.
Which
might be a hot take.
Audience score, literally 50% as well.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
50% across the board. I feel like we never see that. We never see them matched up perfectly.
50-50, that's wild. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, that's
dude, that
nuts.
proves my point, though. Like, people are like, we were close, but it's so just close. Not there.
Yeah, I think Pirates builds off it really well, off of the ride. It feels like there's a little bit more there that they can use, I guess. That sounds weird to say when you have a whole land versus one ride, but for some reason Pirates kind of has more lore, I think, to it throughout the ride, whereas when you go into Tomorrowland, like, it's just futuristic. It's like, it's cool, like, it's got my favorite ride. I love Space Mountain. That's my ride, you know. So like,
I have a tattoo of Space Mountain, Ben, so I will.
Do you really?
Yeah,
you do. 100%.
Yes,
like, that's like, it's the best ride ever. My dad and I went to like all the Disneys around the world, and that was the thing we had to do every time, was like all the Space Mountains, because they were like, it's my favorite ride. It's so cool. So it was fun to see that in this movie. It's like, oh shit, that's Space Mountain back there. Like, that's awesome. You know, that's super cool to see. And they had a few of those things that we'll talk about in a little bit. But for some reason, the lore of this, and also, you know, if Johnny Depp didn't show up until like an hour into a 2-hour movie,
exactly,
but he's the face of it, it's like, okay, well, what's going on here? And again, like, Clooney's doing the best with what he has, but it's bummer that he kind of gets wasted like that, you know, that I don't know, I guess we see him at the very beginning, and then it's like, you know, how did we get here? And let's go back in time. So I don't know. Could have been better for sure.
I like the narrative structure. I liked that. I thought it worked well in this situation. It's a movie about time travel through time and space, so I do think it applies. And like, I enjoyed Clooney starting out with that, like, very very Clooney demeanor of like, you know, just being like kind of annoyed, but also trying to tell you something. And then, like you said, we get all of this background at the World's Fair, and I just don't know if it's needed. Like, I think it's enjoyable. I think it's fine. Yeah. But like, if we learned, because we rehashed that storyline to like literally an hour and a half into the movie when they're all in the truck together, and Clooney and the little girl and the like audio animatronic girl are like back and forthing and telling our main character like what their relationship is. It's like, oh, cool. So I literally didn't need the first 25 minutes of this movie. Like, you could have just told me. You know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
Which I would have been okay with.
Not had this conversation. I mean, I say let's just get into the true cinema, because that mean that is one of the my selections, you know, to show my cards a little bit here.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if you want to go first, be my guest.
I mean, it is. It's just that first World Fair thing, because I do enjoy, you know, who doesn't love the Easter eggs, you know, but it's fun to see that stuff of them like utilizing the existing Disneyland rides and attractions and trying to tie it into this movie, so that when you do go see the film, or, you know, when you do go to Tomorrowland or whatever on its own, like, oh yeah, okay, cool, I remember that from this and whatever, and, you know, upgrading the monorail and stuff. But I liked that scene. I think it worked well, but it was just like kind of eye candy, just like, oh, I know that it's the Leo meme, you know. 100%. But and maybe this kind of speaks to the quality of the movie, but that's my first true cinema moment, because it was just like, oh, I've been there, that's cool, I like this, you know. So yeah, that's my first one.
I'm very much aligned with you as well. I'm gonna pick something similar. It's a little bit more pinned in than that. Pew pew pew. No pun intended. But which I do like the Tomorrowland pin. I think it's pretty sick, and I do have one, which is actually pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, look, being a Disney guy myself, I do have a tattoo of Space Mountain. I know enough about the history of Disneyland and the 1964 World's Fair and all of these things, where it did feel pretty rewarding to be there. I enjoyed it. The true cinema moment I'm going to pick out of that kind of scene is when we very first get there, and he's kind of getting off the bus, and it's like literally the first time that we're seeing him. That's when we hear "It's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow," and like that song is iconic for Disney history and lore. I love that song. And to me, I was just like, oh, like, shit, this is going to be kind of a fun movie. Like, we're just going to be doing this for 2 hours. I think that's pretty neat. And, of course, that did not end up being the case. But I thought that was neat. I thought that was a really cool Easter egg to put in initially. I would have loved if we got more Space Mountain, to be honest with you. Like, if it was folded in somehow. That's, like, literally the staple attraction of Tomorrowland. And we see it in the background. And I get it that it's an Easter egg, but it still would have been cool. We're getting a Space Mountain movie, apparently, in the future. I don't know what the hell that's even going to be about. So we'll see what happens. Real quick, I just wanted to say, this movie, massive flop at the box office, even in 2015, cost $190 million to make, and it only made $209 at the box office.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty brutal. And then, like, 2 years before this, Clooney was making Gravity. A few years before this, he was making, like, The Ides of March, The American, The Fantastic Mr. Fox. Like, all of these movies that are, like, pretty good. And Michael Clayton, well before this, but still. And then, like... And heard of it, okay movie. And then, I don't know. He makes Tomorrowland, and then he just squeaks out some other movies, starts making some Netflix stuff. I personally like Ticket to Paradise. I think it's pretty fun. But
yeah, you kidding me?
Like I said, like, I don't know. I guess I just wanted more Clooney. Like, if we got Clooney from like the first 15 minutes, I think this is a much better and a much different movie. Okay, go ahead with your second pick.
I mean, we just kind of talked about it, but it's when she shows up in Tomorrowland for the first time. I kind of like them utilizing the monorail. I like those pools. I thought that was really cool.
Those pools are fucking sick, dude.
Right?
I literally almost texted you, and I was like, pools in the air? Like, good idea? No, good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it was awesome. It was so fun to see. I think what they did with some of these characters and these places, it made it visually interesting, but again, it's stuff like even seeing Space Mountain, like you said in the background. It's like I wish it had been able to be tied in a little bit more. It's like I want to like connect this for me. Just if you're gonna spend 2 hours and 10 minutes, like use 2 more minutes and like get me closer to Space Mountain and let me, you know what I mean, like something like that. So, but I enjoyed that. I enjoyed kind of what they had created. It's kind of like that meme on Twitter of like the perfect world, like that kind of a thing where it's just like this idyllic, like everything looks wonderful. And yeah, I don't know. I liked going there, and I would say the pools are probably the best part.
Yeah, those pools are tight, honestly. I mean, just like, I was like, could we ever live in a society where those pools exist? If we had the technology, sure. And then I was like, wow, those people would just sue at the ass. People would be dying left and right on those pools. It would never happen. Really, like, I think I like the concept of this movie much more than the execution. I think the entire story with kind of like I literally cannot remember the main character's name, Casey. Everything going on with Casey's dad, and like he's out of a job and NASA, and he's unemployable, but like she's trying to like break the crane, so he has stuff to go work on and all this stuff. Like, scrap all of that bullshit. Like, just completely unnecessary. Like, just take me to what is my second true cinema moment of like the coin, the pin. Like, let's just do more cool stuff with the pin. The idea and the execution, pretty flawless. Of like, I touch the pin and I go somewhere else, and even when I'm driving, I'm driving in the field, or like when I'm walking in the police station and she hits her head on the wall. When she very first did it, I was like, okay, like what are the physics? How does this work? Like, does everything around her disappear? Does her body go like kind of like on autopilot in the real world? How does this happen? And then I was like, oh, it's fucking like legit. Like, she's going to run into stuff. This is really fun, because now we have to travel all the way out to this field, and then we're going to end up wading into a lake. Like, I think that's really innovative and fun, and I like when she very first discovers how the pin works. I think that is like the core of the movie, of like this anything is possible, use your imagination, the world can be better kind of a thing. I liked it. Yeah,
I thought that was executed wonderfully. I also love when she goes back home and the brother's like, you smell like swamp, So good. All the Tim McGraw stuff, like, he doesn't need to be a NASA scientist. Like, they did not give that impression at all. And there's so many other ways you could have just said, like, he needs a job, like he's losing his job. Like, okay, cool. It didn't feel like there was much that was added because he worked at NASA. Like, I know it's Tomorrowland and stuff like that, but given all the people that they're recruiting that we see at the end of the movie, you know, it's like a math teacher, but it's also just like a street busker. And it's also someone who's like, you know what I mean? Like doing chalk art and stuff. It's like, so her dad could be anything and him fitting in there would still make sense. That's the message you guys are saying. He doesn't have to fucking work at NASA for the storyline to make sense, right? Like,
it's a little counterintuitive, to be honest with you, because then it's like the point, like the really heavy-handed moral at the very end of the movie is like, anybody can change the world and make it better.
Yeah.
But the whole reason we did all of this for 2 hours is because someone that works at NASA needs a job at NASA. So,
So, it was kind of weird. I thought that, like you said, just really kind of muddled the message at the end. It's like, oh, so it didn't matter. He could do anything and he would like be important. So, I don't know. And also it's like Tim McGraw. Come on, dude. Like he doesn't need to like don't have one of your first roles being a NASA scientist. My last one is the attack on Clooney's house. Just kind of the futuristic Home Alone aspect of everything, you know, like things blowing up and you know, we saw them kind of get like shredded and
magnetic
whatever
walls and stuff.
Yeah. They go through like those lasers and just kind of reminded me of Endgame a little bit.
With Drax.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was cool. I also love when they're like, you know, trying to weld through the door and all of a sudden like the line just goes down because he just had like a literal trap door outside there. It's like, that's genius. That's all you need. Just like a big hole that works, you know? So I liked all that stuff. And then leading up to the bathtub, like shooting off, all those contraptions were kind of cool. And it was interesting to think about him putting all these things together, knowing what's going to possibly happen at some point.
It was neat. It felt fun. I liked that. And again, like, I think it's very pertinent. Like, that's when Clooney shows up, and like, that's one of the best parts of the movie. Yeah. My third true cinema moment that I'm going to pick is the spectacle inside of the Eiffel Tower. I actually think the CGI doesn't look half bad considering it's almost 10 years old. The Eiffel Tower splits in half, and I like the concept. I always love this concept. It's like very National Treasure of like, inside the Eiffel Tower, there's more than you think, and they designed it to communicate with other, you know, pockets in time space. And it's like, that's just fucking cool. Like, it'll just never not be cool. And then the Eiffel Tower splits, and they launch a spaceship out of there. And then when it is getting ready to orbit into space, it like Men in Blacks everybody and like totally obliterates everybody's tech. And I thought that was pretty neat, honestly. I like that. I want to know real quick. We have like 90 seconds. Hugh Laurie, good villain, bad villain?
I don't know, man. I love House, you know, like he's super good in this. I don't know that was great in this role, but I don't know who would have been. I think it might have been the writing, you know.
I want to see Hugh Laurie get really dark. I think he would be really good as like a really twisted, demented kind of a villain. I think that would be pretty fun. Moral of this movie, very overtly pretty heavy-handed, gets a little out of control in like the last 20 minutes. I think it's pretty fun up until then. But look, you know, we all have the power to change the world every single day. I actually liked Hugh Laurie's monologue about like how the action in the now doesn't require anything of us, so we don't do anything about the future. Yeah. Of course, very pertinent with what's going on in the world right now. So I think that was good. I think it was a little out of pocket. I don't think this would fit into the A24 catalog. It's much too CGI, much too like IP, obviously. Yeah, the budget, you know, this is like, I mean, Ex Machina pulls off some cool like futuristic tech and things like that, but this goes just so far beyond it. So I feel like there's hints that it could, but overall, no. Yes. Okay, cool. Next week on the pod, we're doing the Haunted Mansion, the new one. We've got a new Disney live action, pretty stacked cast. We'll see how it goes. I think reviews are pretty mixed so far, but I'm pretty excited. Yeah, same here. It's going to be, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis, right? I love it. You better wrap us up right here. I'm not taking hot sauce for Tomorrowland. Let us know on Twitter or Instagram at 24 Minutes of A24. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks, everyone, for supporting us. I'm Ben Lawhorn. I'm Ethan Simi. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. We did it. I hope we did it. We definitely did it. I'm not hearing otherwise. I can't believe we were that close to taking a punishment for such a shitty movie. For this movie, I know. Unbelievable.